Sometimes I look in the mirror and I say, yo, who are you? The communication, the interactions, the internal things that I process. I'm so proud of myself. And sometimes the hardest thing is knowing that I'll never be able to share with my mom. But you want to know the good part? It really is worth it. Thanks for tuning in. This is Eve Davis Paul, and you are listening to Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Eve Davis Paul. If you've been listening, I appreciate you for listening and supporting this podcast. The more you listen, the more iTunes know that we are great. So please subscribe, rate, and review. They have a super funky algorithm, and I want them to know that you love the podcast and they should too. So please subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a comment. You can also follow us on Twitter at VankPod. You can follow us on Instagram at VankPod. And also, our website is up, www.vankpod.com. Head on over, check out the site, join the forum. Anything that you need, you know we're going to give it to you straight, no chaser. Support, solution, satire. You are not alone. While being the daughter of a narcissistic mom is no joke, that doesn't mean it can't be funny. I gotta say it, they make me say it, y'all already know what it is. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a healer, but I am a daughter of a narcissistic mom. So please, please, please don't take anything that you hear on this show and try to scribble that shit on a prescription pad. Stop trying to copy a doctor's signature. Put the pen down, walk away. Nothing that I can say or will say on this podcast will be used as a substitute for professional help. So just don't try it. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad the podcast can help you, but don't be saying Dr. Eve said, because Eve is not a doctor. Episode 12. The title episode 12 came in because I'm learning so many new things about myself. I'm seeing different ways that I'm using to not only cope with everyday life, but cope effectively and cope healthily. And I was like, you know what? I want to share my tools with my sisters, and also brothers who may be listening into this podcast too. I want to share some very effective tools about beginning to change the things that we may not like about ourselves or the things that may just keep us in supply mode. Now, some people may say, okay, what is supply mode? Supply mode is being a open pool um, of a supply to our moms. So our moms can feed off of us. They continue to hurt us. They can continue to abuse us. And while they are still able to do that, we are a healthy supply to them. Now, some people who have siblings will notice when their mom has broken them or something has happened, they'll go to another sibling. And until they are able to replenish or until the mom notices that they are, for lack of better words, okay, doing better, not angry, not mad, she'll stay away. And that's narcissists in general. If a narcissist cannot use you for what they are lacking, they don't want nothing to do with you. I've been recently noticing that not only am I sort of like being tested, like I've been bumping into a few people here and there that have the same characteristics and behavioral patterns of Wendell. And I keep thinking, like, what are the odds that this continues to happen? So at some point, I was just like, okay, I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, do you think that I'm supposed to engage and demonstrate what I've learned? Because it's not like it was kind of happening around me, but I was literally being put in certain situations where that fight or flight feeling started like staring inside. So this one particular guy, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I ran into, and I noticed that he instantly gravitated towards me. Um, he was like, "Hey, yo, sis. Um, asking a lot about the podcast. How did you begin doing it? How can I start doing it? What do you use? What resources? What sites? What this? What that? And the inquiries and the questions and his behavior was so overwhelming that not only was I starting to feel unequal, but I was starting to kind of get like a little annoyed. And I had to realize that this was the same kind of behavior that Wendell exhibited. So, mind you, y'all know how you get to a point where you really ain't trying to like be in no mess. You really ain't trying to fuck with too many people. You just chilling, you doing your thing. But it's always that one person that like don't have that boundary thing. Usually for us, it's our narc mom. But since I'm not having contact with her, it's just been so many fucking occurrences. So, same guy I was just telling you about started like overstepping the boundary to like be in my personal space. Like, dude, like you're in my personal space. I don't care if it was a piece of lint on my ear. Why are you touching my ear to get it off? Why? I just want to know why. Just like we're strangers. We didn't know each other 2 months ago, and here you are touching my ear. How close, like how fucking close did you have to be to see a piece of lint on my ear? And what in the hell possessed you to touch my ear? Now, we're not even talking about like, yeah, yo, some on your ear or something, get it. No, his hand touched my fucking ear. Now, y'all know I had to really remember where I was, right? Because it was a professional site. I had to really remember, like, where the fuck I was. And I couldn't, like, raise the fuck up, but I wanted to raise up so bad. I regrouped in the restroom, took a few breathers, and I said, oh my gosh, I know what it is. Now, y'all don't got to go with me with this, but I'm the type of person, I believe that the universe sets things up in a way where we are able to test our own progress, see our own growth. So I was like, damn, yo, this is a setup by the universe. The universe is trying to see if I am going to flight this situation or fight against it, say what I need to say, set a boundary, and let him know, listen, dude, I don't know what the fuck you thought, but don't do it again. So, of course, y'all know I definitely said something to his ass, right? Now, the old Eve that was still being abused, still being mistreated, would have not said anything, would have just thought, oh, that's just how he is. Everybody's different. Not even really giving a fuck about people shouldn't put their hands on you if they don't fucking know you. People should know that that's disrespectful. And people should not think that it's okay to be so curious to the point where they have no tact. Those are things that I learned along the way in my journey. There are 3 tools that I worked from when I began to sort of revamp myself, rebuild myself, reteach myself, and mother myself. In early episodes, I have talked about how it is possible to mother ourselves, to love ourselves, to rebuild ourselves, giving the trapped daughters, the little girls inside of us, the love that she needs in order to grow into the woman and to fill the woman's shoes that we are currently living in. So those 3 things are your interactions, your communications, and your internal. Interactions are your boundaries with people, how important they are in your life, valuing friendship, knowing what's healthy in certain friendships, knowing what is not. Communication is how you communicate and the overall effectiveness of that communication. Also, when you are you communicating with purpose? Are you communicating with power? Are you knowing when to show up? Are you knowing when to kind of relax and let things happen? And that last thing, internal, your internal feelings, your internal thoughts, your internal needs. How are you feeling about certain things? What thoughts are you having? What thoughts are you believing? What thoughts are you actually expounding upon that bring different feelings? And what's overall important is the need to feel, the need to be, Your feelings and internal thoughts around your needs, what are they? Are they realistic? Are you meeting the needs that you should have for yourself in order to set boundaries and in order to express your needs to other people? These three things were very, very, very influential in me recreating who I am today. I wasn't a big communicator. Things sort of just happened to me. I had no idea that I was in control of every single thing that happens to me. Today, I know that I am in control of every single thing that happens to me. I'm in control of things that people say to me, how they say them to me. Now, this doesn't mean somebody say something to me, I'm ready to fight. It doesn't mean when somebody, criticizes me, um, I'm ready to just jump on them and say, no, 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 I'm right, you're wrong. This means that I'm able to see myself in truth, completely separate and erased of what I've learned as a daughter of a narcissistic mother, and understand that as a woman who has been affected by narcissism through her mother, I am a complete individual who knows who she is, what she wants, what she will stand for, what she will not take, the things that are non negotiable, and most of all, how she feels in all of this. At the end of the day, if you are not laying down satisfied in the beginning of the day, if you are not waking up satisfied with who you are, you can start over at any given time. At any given point, you can say, today I'm going to work on my interactions. Now, some people may say, well, how do I just cut off people I've been interactive with? You don't have to do that. But we know deep down inside those people who aren't adding value to our life, who are not giving us positivity, who are sucking the life out of us, for lack of better words. Now, no, this is not saying that they are narcissists, but a lot of characteristics and or traits, some people who are sort of placed here, there, strategically for the universe to align, to test us, they will show up. They just will. They will along this journey. I may look up 2-3 years down the line and I may see someone there that reminds me of her. But if I'm on my journey and I'm doing it properly, the more I face it head on, the less they will appear. Period, point blank. The more I face them head on and I don't flee the situation, the less they will appear. So just to let you all know, this gentleman was not the first encounter like this that I had experienced within the week that I experienced it, right? So it was about 3 people, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what the fuck do I do? One person magically erased themselves from the picture, which was great. And with this guy specifically, I said, I'm not sure if maybe you are normally like this, but with me, I don't really know you. And I wish for you not to exhibit any of these characteristics. Don't put your hand around my face. Don't put your hand within any distance of me to where you would feel uncomfortable. We sometimes like to be very forgiving and say that people don't understand and people don't know and they don't do this and that's just who they are. Everybody has instinct. Everybody has that little voice that's like, maybe that was a little bit too much, or damn, why did I do that? And on this end, the receiving end of sometimes people's bullshit, we have to raise the flag. Now, I'm not saying every single time something happens, you have to be the referee. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is situations dealing directly with you, don't let that shit just pass by. If you got to go regroup, if you got to take a moment, get your words together, if you have to write them on the palm of your hand, this is something that I do not want to happen again. Name what that thing is. Let them know that it's unacceptable with you. It may work with other people, but you are not other people. And this is the boundary that you would like to uphold with them. People cannot continue to push and disrespect and neglect and abuse and misuse you when you have drawn that line in the sand. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, I said this and, I told her one time that it hurt my feelings. Okay, and you let her continue to do it how many times after? That one time? means nothing that you decided to speak up, because afterwards you didn't hold her to it. So we have these encounters with strangers and we think, oh, well, maybe he was just having a strange day. You can't think for other people. This journey is for our motherfucking lives. I couldn't think for that guy if I wanted to think for that guy. But since I've been working on myself, I had no intention of thinking for him. What I knew was that I was uncomfortable, and if it made me uncomfortable for even just a fucking half a second, I'm supposed to say something. And I employ whoever is listening out there, all of y'all listening out there, if something makes you uncomfortable for a second, if it reminds you of that abuse for a second, you say, okay, hold on. I don't like what just happened. Maybe we can find a workaround for it not to happen again, but I don't want it to happen again. And if it does, we gonna have to chill. And this can be in a relationship, this can be in a friendship. You could have teenage children that don't know how to fuck the act, that's thinking, oh, well, if grandma ran over you, so can I. It will work in every single situation. Let your intention be clear. I also mentioned importance with interaction. If you are having an interaction with somebody and it's like, I really don't really care about them that much, you need to clear that up. You need to literally say, okay, is this relationship or friendship important enough for me to be taking something that's not up to my standard? Like, first of all, nobody is important enough. I mean, we're talking about our mothers. This podcast is about our mothers. So I'd be feeling like, if I can tell my mother to go over there and, have a seat until she chooses to stop abusing me, a stranger don't have nothing coming. You dig what I'm saying? A stranger don't have a motherfucking thing coming. If I can say, hey yo, mom, I ain't fucking with you. We just off right now. Don't really know when we gonna be back on. Really not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? If I can show that the abuse is bigger than the importance of the relationship, a stranger has nothing coming. And I implore you to be realistic and analyze your interactions. Because once you're able to do this, and you can do it on a piece of paper, you can draw a line on the paper, put important, not important. You can assess it by how you may feel around a person, visible or invisible, to help you make this decision. But there should not be a lot of people in your life that are not adding value to it. We are way beyond the age of you treat me how I treat you, and sometimes we good and sometimes we bad and sometimes we off. No, no. This journey is about being better, feeling better, living better, being strong communicators. That's something that we have stripped from us so young. We have our communication stripped from us so young that this journey is like, yo, if you are not setting your intention, if you are not communicating clearly so that people cannot misunderstand you, start there. Every single thing that I say is going to have purpose. I'm going to make sure that I'm using words that are powerful, that people can be affected by. If I am not speaking, I'm silent. I'm assessing. I'm thinking of the things that I want to say to make an impact. I'm thinking of the things that I want to say that will set a boundary. I'm thinking of the things that I want to say that will show people that anything will not fly with me. These are things that are super, super, super important. Communication has been something that I have struggled with for a long time. Having my communication stripped from me very young, being isolated, only communicating with Wendell in such hostile fucking environment. I grew up to be not the most talkative adult, and now that I am freed from narcissistic abuse and maternal narcissism, I am able to be in communication with people and not feel less than, not feel guilty, not feel anything. I can be completely free. If I feel like being uncensored, of course, with respect, I can be uncensored. I can be myself. I don't have to worry about, oh, well, what if I say this, will this be the right thing? What if I want to say this, will this be the wrong thing? All of those things that I used to have to think about just to say a word, just to say a sentence, I no longer have to worry about those things. I started with how I communicated, what felt good. I've always had a issue with people questioning me. So I noticed that, simple interactions with people who asking me a question gave me anxiety. It snatched my voice away. I would get sweaty palms. I would be up in my head. I would overthink things. And I'm just like, they're literally only asking you a question. You should not feel this way. Sometimes we have to start at step one. How do I feel when someone asks me a question? Do I feel guilty? Do I feel like I'm being interrogated? Do I feel nervous? Do I get dry mouth? Why do I feel that way? I knew for me, I felt, uncomfortable because Wendell always questioned me in a very interrogative manner. And it was always about, to me, very small things, very simple things, everyday things that she made very interrogative. So here I am as a grown woman in everyday situations, and I'm interacting with people who may ask a question, and I am completely fumbling. Now, I am completely aware that it is not my fault that I am feeling interrogated and nervous and all of these things, but I have to step into the present, right? So I have to notice that this does not have to continue for me. This does not have to continue to be your form of communication. It didn't have to continue to be my form of communication. All I had to realize was how I wanted to communicate. I wanted to be able to answer a question directly, and if I did not know the answer, be bold enough to say, hey, I don't know the answer, but I can find out the answer. Not just being stuck in defeat of not knowing. That was something that I struggled with too. When I didn't know, I usually got yelled at. Or if I didn't know, I was called stupid or called a liar. I mean, the list fucking goes on. But that's not the situation as an adult. Episodes ago, you guys may remember me talking about separating what's real, what's true from what is not. This kind of intertwines with this. What is present right now? And for all of my sisters who are still interacting with their moms, it's going to be okay because what you can work towards is not interacting with her. You do not have to put up with the pain and the abuse just because she is your mother. Understand that if we don't, and just like I did not, someone will. Someone will. A sister of mine just recently with no contact, and she is back living her life. She doesn't have to worry about the threats that her mom was giving. She's back traveling, she's back to work, leaving work and moving to a place completely on the other side of the world to be around her mom, and her mom didn't appreciate it for one fucking moment. And it's like, now she's free, she's able to breathe again, she's happy, she's not putting herself in a strenuous situation, which then affects her health and her mindset and her actions and her choices. If we realize what happens internally when we're interacting with them, a lot of people won't be on the fence because there are health risks. There are stress signs. There are red flags. When people are being stressed out, when people are being abused, there are things that are happening within the mind and within the body, and to the organs that should not, that are scary. So just imagine years of this buildup of abuse. Imagine years of internalizing. Imagine years of not being able to say I want out, and what that does within. Um, it can really do a number on us as women, and waking up every single day in a new situation, in a new day with a fresh start, with the same abuse, with the same treatment and misuse. We don't deserve it. And I don't know how many times I have to say, we don't deserve it. There are so many adult daughters of narcissistic mothers worldwide. It is ridiculous. I've talked to hundreds. I've seen forums where there's double digit by the thousand. There are so many of us that are at so many different points in our recovery process. But what we sometimes fail to look at and heal is ourselves, the most deserving party in the entire scenario, which does lead me to the internal. How are your feelings? What are you thinking? I had to sort of like rewire myself almost. And it was many days where I cried about it, where I was broken about it, where it hurt, where it didn't taste good, where it didn't feel good, where I was fucking angry, where I was realizing things that I didn't even know that I was angry about, where I was introduced to parts of myself that I had never even seen. But I had to feed myself where I know and what I know I needed to hear, where I know I needed to be. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are smart. Like I have been called stupid with your stupid ass. Like I have been called stupid so many times for the dumbest reasons, of course. But as a kid, that sticks. You know what I'm saying? You do start to believe it. So as an adult, you don't give yourself too much fucking credit. I had to be in my interactions, remember interactions, communication, and internal. I had to be within my interactions to notice other people saying, wow, you're so smart. Wow, you're so brilliant. To say, wow, maybe I am smart. Now, if those interactions are healthy, it makes no difference where they're coming from. If you have those interactions in check, if they are bringing value, if you have identified the importance of them, by all means receive that. Receive it with the open heart. Receive it with the open mind, because it will begin to manifest into what you tell yourself. Hey Eve, you look good today. Hey Eve, I know your hair, your haircut, your fade ain't right. You know what I'm saying? You might be wearing hats for a couple of days before you can make it to the barber shop, but you are still black, beautiful, and strong. Those are things that will never change. I had to continue to feed myself this, continue until I looked in the mirror and I didn't hate myself, until I looked in the mirror and I knew that I was smart, until I looked in the mirror and I didn't see her. Now when I look in the mirror, I see me and I see me only, and it feels so fucking good that I don't see the abuser that abused me, that misused me, that broke me. When I look at myself. It took a long time, but what I can say is that I just went no contact July 28, 2017. It isn't even July 2018. So while it took a long time, it hasn't even been a year. Imagine implementing these tools right now at this moment, how ahead of the curve you can be. It doesn't even have to be 6, 7 months for you. It can be however long you want it to be based off of knowing where you want to go. It's easy to go there when you know where you want to go. These 3 tools are easily implemented over time. They're easily able to be broken down. And they will always, always, always fit, no matter the relationship, no matter the friendship. Another thing internally that I had to realize was that my thoughts were a little bit warped. And the things that we're told as children, we do think. The things that we're told as children, we do see, we do emulate, we do ingest and internalize. So I had to say, hey, like, what are you thinking? I know for me, when I'm able to hear things that are good, that are healthy, I think healthy things. So I'll listen to like a TD Jakes sermon, I'll listen to a motivational speaker. Sometimes I'll read my wife's book to kind of replenish and re-nourish what I am lacking on a daily basis. Because sometimes we can wake up and be sad and not even know why. Sometimes we can have high moments and low moments, and that's natural. It is natural in the journey. It is very, very natural. This is where you have to be able to say, hey, what you feeling, Eve? What you think about? Make it a habit to check in with yourself. You know what I'm saying? A day is a long time not to think about how you feel. Shit. fucking 8 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours is a long time not to say, hey, what you feel? Do you feel good? I have daily check-ins with myself throughout the day. If I get a bathroom break or I take a break at work, I'm just like, hey, what you feel? What you thinking? What you feeding yourself? What are you allowing? Have you had any interactions that make you feel like, ooh, cringe? All of those things I'll ask myself throughout the course of the day. And over time I may not have to, but what I know right now is that it is imperative in my journey to check in with myself because I need to make sure that I am taking care of me. I need to make sure that I am keeping my interactions in check, that I am keeping my communication effective with purpose, and that I am also being in tune internally. My feelings, my thoughts, my needs. Now, with needs, you have to know what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad, what makes you upset, and be in control of how, of which, and when you will go to those feelings. Can't be all over the place. You can't not know what'll set you off. You can't not know to what extent you'll be when something happens. On this journey, it is very, very important to be in control. Control is something that I did not have at all. Like the day I went no contact, I was an emotional fucking wreck. I was sad, I was mad, I was happy, I was so many fucking things, but not just one thing. And sometimes we won't be just one thing, but it's important to know what we feel. It's important to know where that feeling is coming from. These three tools are something that I was sitting at my desk one day in my office at home, and I was like, what are three main things that I have focused on that helped me recreate myself? The first thing I thought of was interaction because I was no longer accepting anything, anyone, any kind of behavior, any kind of madness around me. I just wasn't accepting it. And it felt really great to be able to say that after a life of anything, any kind of behavior, other people's behavior through her. Like, it just felt really, really good. The second thing that I was able to discover was that my communication, though it had been a struggle, and it still sometimes is so intentional. It has so much purpose and effectiveness that people no longer misunderstand me. When I am speaking, people know exactly what I'm saying. There's no way to say, oh, well, what do you mean? I thought you meant this. And the reason why I assumed this was because I wasn't sure. People can no longer do that in my life. I mowed the grass, I cleaned up the edges, and now when people walk across it, I can see that they're either coming directly to me or not at all coming. Um, it hasn't been easy. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't easy. But what I can say is that I wish that the tools that I'm offering all of you, I had while I was doing it. Because all the things that I'm telling you guys, I learned along the way and I was able to reflect on after. And I wish I was able to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Wait, let me remember my interaction. Let me think about my communication. Let me implement how I feel and the things I need. I didn't know. And now that I know, I want to share it and continue sharing with you so that your journey isn't as bumpy. So that you don't have those times where you're sitting and you're in question of if you're doing the right thing. Should you be doing it? Why do you feel this way? A lot of the feelings that we get are natural. But just imagine having something to reference. Just imagine when you're feeling like, oh, this person is reminding me of someone and it doesn't feel good, what to do. Imagine when you're feeling a certain way and you know that you want to say something, but you don't know if you should. Yes, you should. Because you are free. And look how long and look what it took for you to get here. What I had to understand is that the people who are in my life to be supportive and loving and caring stayed when I showed my tools. Those that made me nervous, that made me anxious, that brought back those old feelings in me. When I showed my tools, they fled like hell. They didn't want to stay in the room and say, okay, cool. Respect is respect, and I'll give you that. You give me that, we'll be cool. They decided to walk away. And that walking away didn't affect me emotionally because that is exactly what I want for those who are not willing to respect me and respect my boundaries. So I didn't have to do anything but simply do right by myself. And all the people and things either fell in order or fell out of order. But what I knew is that I was stress free. Because y'all know stress is a slow death. So wake up, take a stand, and get into life now. Y'all know I love y'all. I'm never, ever, ever far away. You can communicate with me through Twitter, Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook, Vanquisher the podcast. On Twitter, we are VankPod. On Instagram, we are VankPod. If you would like to send any special notes, you can send them to vankpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our website, www.vankpod.com. Until next time, I love y'all. Peace.